Welcome back to Healthy, Happy, Wise, Wealthy. I have with us today Alex Fredericks of Tonewell.co, not com. I keep putting in the com and not the co. That makes a difference, which is fascinating voice analysis, and I did it last night. And Alex, we have a podcast sponsor, Mindy, Mindii, which is IT, builds apps, websites, hardware, whatever, data storage, cloud storage, whatever a business needs. All right. Would you mind if I just read a little bit off the website for Tonewell?
I wouldn't mind at all. I appreciate it.
Okay. So the mission for it is, it says, most people know something is off because they can explain it. Energy dips, sleep falters, stress builds quietly. The challenge isn't feeling well, it's knowing what to do about it. So Tonewell was built to close a gap. We developed a proprietary voice analysis platform that reads acoustic biomarkers in your voice, subtle patterns tied to hydration, sleep quality, stress load, inflammation, and more, and delivers a plain language performance readiness report with a clear action roadmap. No blood draws, no wearables, no waiting room, just your voice analyzed in seconds. So I did this last night. So it's you get on there, it's 30 seconds, and then within a few minutes, it reads kind of like how you're doing with hydration, pathogens, inflammation, how your sleep is, all that kind of thing. Tell us a little bit more about it, Alex.
Well, I appreciate that, Mary, and thank you for having me on.
Yeah.
So our mission as a company is to help people build better relationships with themselves, because I think that in the age that we're living in of tracking everything and having immediate access to everything, people are still coming up short with a very basic question, which is, why don't I feel well, or why don't I function well? And most of the times there's an answer for it, and it's not in more data, it's in clarity. And what we really are trying to do with Tonewell is be a translation layer. And what's interesting is that your voice is one of the greatest analytic tools that you have. And as technology has caught up with science, because the science has been around for a long time, but the technology of delivery hasn't been. And when the technology has caught up, we're now able to give our customers, answers, actionable things they can do today in under 5 minutes. And that's based upon a lot of science on the algorithmic side. How do you know X equals 1, Y equals 2? As well as the understanding of what an automated workflow is today. So how fast can you move through, the steps that you need to deliver results and answers to people. So what we're doing with Tonewell is using the voice as the input, and then using a technology called FFT, which stands for faster Fourier transfer. We're taking the sound wave and making it into zeros and ones, and therefore we can analyze it fast. And then using, at that point, AI as a delivery system, we can give you actionable results. So as you start your day or end your day or in the middle of something, and you can say, hey, what's going on? I don't feel well. I'm not functioning well. I think something's going on with me. We can give you insights in pretty close to immediacy, 5 minutes. And that's what we're doing.
That is a really cool concept. I had another guest on who said she could usually just hear from someone how their voice was.
Yes.
How they're doing and what they're doing from just the pitch and vibration. She could sense it.
Well, look, you're transmitting at all time your nervous system and your physiology. So if you legitimately are paying attention to somebody, it's going to come across.
Yeah, for sure. What is the science that is behind that? Because you mentioned the science behind it.
Sure. So frequency science is as old as Wilhelm Reich, Nikola Tesla. It's the reason that people use singing bowls and chants and all of those things. So it's pretty much dawn of time. But in modern Western technology science, things like CAT scans, MRIs, CT scans, they're using frequency as a bombardment and then mapping what the return is. That's why you're going to one of those metal tubes or something. And if you've ever had a QEEG, for a neurofeedback, you put on the swim cap with the diodes. They're looking at the frequency in some of its electrical pulse, some of it is actual wavelength, and they are using it as a diagnostic. What we're doing is we're using voice because, as I said, like you are always broadcasting your nervous system and your physiology. It's just the way it goes. And because of where your voice is kind of centered, meaning like vagus nerve, heart, lungs, brain, it's pretty arguably that's an important quadrant of your body. So you're projecting it. And then, as I said, we use a very basic, what's called FFT. It's how wavelength works. It's how we're on this computer, how, things move at the speed of sound and light because, well, frankly, I can move zeros and ones faster than I can move the voice, right? And then what we're doing is we've using a proprietary database. So through computer learning of many decades, we have built out a static database. Reason I say static is because it doesn't move. It is scalable, defensible, and auditable, meaning what I put in, going to come out. I can do it 1,000 times. I can do it once. I can do it 1,000,000 times a second. And in that database of about 150,000 things, we'll call them for this conversation that we're looking at, that encompasses what a hertz equals to, what a biomarker equals to, the timbre, the acoustics, the temporal of your voice. And then using that overlay of our database, we're actually looking for outliers, the things that are not where they are supposed to be. Like, for example, the photo right above me of the man running with the red background. If I walked into the room and that wasn't there, it'd be easier for me to point that out than do an accounting of all of the stuff that's on my walls, right? So just saying it that way, what we are doing is we're using an overlay of very approved science. So it is agreed upon that this hertz equals that output, or this hertz equals this signature equals iron, boron, potassium, magnesium, so on and so forth. And then our proprietary stack that we're looking at, our algorithm by which we're creating the opportunity, kicks out something called a JSON script, which is just the language by which we then use the information and create the templates for the reports that we deliver to people.
Yeah, that's great. So do you find that like the medical community is capable of like using this and reading it and helping people if there's certain things that are going wrong? Or is it more just an individual awareness so that they know what direction to go?
So the answer is both. Okay. So on the very medical side, there are so we're medical adjacent. I'll just say that up front. We're trying to deal with consumers and helping you build your relationship and informing you and empowering you. There are other companies in the space, like Sondon Health is one that comes out of MIT that uses voice as, we'll call it a score inside of corporate America. There are the Mayo Clinic uses voice for cardiology because it's just faster. So as you were saying earlier about a guest that can hear your voice and see what's going on. So it might be faster to use your voice than hook up all the diodes to see if you're having a heart attack. Right. So there is a lot of accepted medical science. It's growing every day. There are white papers and peer reviews every day about the power of frequency and voice. And we kind of stand on those shoulders of those giants. And in our space have created the opportunity for a consumer product, which is really what this is. So with some of our customers that have come back to us for the raw data, because it's not really what we service to people, we've handed it to them and they've taken that raw data to their practitioner for verification. And they said, yes, this is what we see. And for an empowerment tool, hey, doc, I believe this is what's going on with me. And this is what we see. So it's a little bit of yes and, and the other side of it is there's plenty of woo-woo in it if you just want to talk about energy and, that type stuff. But it sits in the, what is the narrative of the human being? Meaning like, if you understand the universe is frequency and wave, then it's a pretty accepted, science.
Right. And I totally agree with I think quantum physics, as much as I don't think I could explain it to people, it certainly is what I use to do my own healing work. So,
Sure.
and it is really remarkable how fast it can be if you just uh, maybe let go of some of our the mindset that's just been the last 100 years, where it's uh, you know medical devices and stuff like that are the only thing that might work. So
Right.
yeah,
Well, I mean, a lot of the education that we've all had is based upon what was the Industrial Revolution, and frankly, you needed to make it singular mind thought so that the larger society can grow. So completely acceptable, that's okay. That kind of discounts the individual purposely. So as the individual though, what makes you like the carbon and stardust and wonder that we are, it comes down to how do you know yourself? And one of the
mm-hmm.
wonderful things about frequency, so you could be a meditator and it's about the chants and the ohms and the shantis, or you could just be the average person that goes to YouTube and puts on 432 hertz and you feel a little bit better. You could
Yeah,
you could go to the Philharmonic and be awed by the orchestra and then recognize that you're getting this full spectrum of sound. So the type of music that they play might actually affect the type of mood that you're in. And all of these things we've participated in. We just haven't stopped to really apply. How does that apply to me? And thought about the larger soundscape. And
mm-hmm.
we're in really marvelous times because of opportunity and technology.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna look at, let's see if I can do this, and I won't pull it up on my screen, but just to so I yesterday when I took this, it says that I am operating at a 78 today, a
Mm-hmm.
strong baseline with no support areas asking for attention. What does that mean?
So actually, that's a great outcome, to be frank. So the 78, as I was talking to you about off camera, that's a
Yeah.
coherence score. It's not a health score. We're not ranking you versus the crowd. We're saying to you, hey, you're about 78% in coherence with yourself, meaning like you're all things being equal, you're doing pretty good. There are some things that you could adjust. However, to the sentence that you said after that, there are no things that are going catastrophe. Nothing is wildly wrong with you. There are some adjustments you can make. So I'm a product person and I've consulted my whole life, and I've said to everybody, 60% of your fuel is used on the launching pad, because once you're out in space, it's these little tiny moves and that gets you. So what it's really saying to you right there is that, you're at about 78%. I'm sure you could get into the 90s. There's nothing wildly wrong. However, and as you kept going down the report, it will point out little things here, little things there. So we come out with about 1,000 biomarkers, but what we deliver to people are a top 5 priority set so that you can make actions today, right? So the choices that you make today might affect the habits of your tomorrow. And inside of that, where do you start? Here's your top 5 priorities. Here are the three things or 5 things that you should be aware of. In your case, none of them are like, oh my gosh, get to it right now, Mary. But in other places, like for me, the other day, I was having a real low energy and it was saying my thyroid was a little bit off. And I asked a bunch of questions because we have a built-in, question answer in there. And
Yeah.
I said, hey, do I need to be taking iodine? And it said, not really. Ashwagandha is pretty good because, and then it gave me the reasons for it. So it's just about like, how do you optimize your own personal operating system? How do you become your own advocate? How do these things happen? And that's really what our score is based upon. Coherence, like, are you in coherence with yourself? Are you totally out of coherence with yourself? And then these are the things that you might take a look at to have a better experience of feeling, function, so forth.
Yeah. Coherence is one of those things that I understand what you're saying. I feel like it's still a word that's not well understood,
Sure.
or a concept that's not well understood. How would you, like, just for someone who's like, I don't know what that means to be in coherence with myself? What does that
Sure.
mean?
So I kind of take a look at it as like gears that concentrically have to fit together. right? And if they're rubbing against themselves, they're not really in the best position. So when we were building this out, a lot of A/B testing, obviously, as you would imagine, just for the consumer side. And we
Yeah.
were flowing between the words vitality, how vital. And then unfortunately that then people immediately make that medical, right? My vital signs versus,
Yeah.
right? Or coherence, meaning how in tuned are you? How aligned are you? How frictionless is it in your operating systems? Because we have operating systems, your cannabinoid system, your endocrine system, your lymphatic system, right? And how in tuned are they with each other? How coherent are they? Meaning like how slotted are they for the next thing to happen versus out of phase or incoherent. That was an incoherent sentence you just said. Don't understand it, right? Or we're completely incoherent. I get exactly what you're saying. And that's really, we were trying to come up with an assessment because the world is gamified. We couldn't avoid giving people scores, period.
Yeah.
So therefore, I didn't want to give a score. We didn't really want to have something that was so weighty that you went running to the hills. Oh my God, I'm broken. We're not. You're just off a couple things here or there, and that's the opportunity.
Yeah. I think we probably understand incoherence better than coherence, right?
Well, yes, I would tend to agree with you.
Yeah, in the term. So it's like that. Yeah, that sentence that didn't make any sense. So your body maybe ability to do what it's supposed to be doing naturally without a bunch of things in the way.
Right.
Is that kind of like
that is
way of saying it?
I might take that from you. Yes, that is very well said.
So break things down and talk to me like I'm 5. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Sometimes it's like that though. So in this thing, it looks like you're looking at sleep, digestion, hormone. One of them says desk comfort, so how you're sitting, pathogen signals, immunity, steady energy and metabolism. So that's all pretty cool stuff to be looking at. I know for mine, it says like there's a green, so there's green. So like mine said, green for low pathogen signals, steady daytime output, restorative sleep patterns, solid immunity reserves. Also, I was sleeping a lot yesterday. I think I was catching up. So I had probably took 2 naps yesterday before I took this thing. And so then watch list was sleep timing, digestion, hormone balance, desk comfort, pathogen signal, but it wasn't like a strong must do. And then on this also just is kind of like the week priorities. So things we should be looking at. So like stress regulation, nervous system recovery, background information. And then there's a thing called signal by signal breakdown.
Right.
For stress, sleep, immunity, digestion, energy, hormones, inflammation, and pathogens. So those are kind of like the main
Those are our
areas.
8 main buckets, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And green is good. So it's a traffic light. Green is good. Yellow is pay attention to it. If there's no oncoming traffic, feel free to go on, right? But if it's really busy in there, you might want to pay attention to it. And then red, as it would have been the color code, is full stop. I mean, it's just you have, and as you'll see, things repeat because how many different ways do you need to hear something before you actually listen, right? And so that's really how it's framed. But the list that you ran off are our 8 main categories, the signals that we talk to people about. Most people want to know about that. Like their top 5 questions are typically about energy and sleep and reparative inflammation, pathogens, toxins, hormones, organs. And the thing it's saying about your posture, your sitting posture, that's your musculature. It's just hard to explain to somebody. Like, it strikes that your lumbar or whatever it might have said. And that might be because you're sitting in a chair a lot. Like I happen, and I'm sorry if I move around a lot. I don't sit in a chair. I sit on an exercise ball because it makes me engage my core and my back, because I've spent 20 years sitting at desk chairs and being like, why are my hamstrings so tight? Those type things.
Yeah. The last job I had, which was sitting more at the desk level, I definitely used an exercise ball too.
Yeah.
And people were like, "What are you doing?" I'm like,
No, it's a great cheat code. It really is,
yeah,
like, it's a great cheat code.
yeah." And just I think just making sure your shoulders are back too, and
Hmm.
like that alignment is something
Yep.
else. I noticed when I just kind of got finished with a move, and like the way your shoulders can slump,
Yeah.
like after carrying stuff, and we're just like that with our phones are down, and so our heads are down, and
Yep.
so the posture, that's great. What brought the interest in this? Because it sounds like, just reading a little bit on it, I should preface this by saying, reading your LinkedIn a little bit, it does sound like you've been involved um, in companies that really are focused on health and wellness to some
For the last,
degree.
yeah, about for the last decade. So
Yeah.
I started in the music business like in the early 90s, and as I moved into more of, we'll call it like a career, and I wasn't going to run some major label or be some, fancy to do agent or something like that. I went into where I would like to think that like my skills applied, and that was in solving problems for product. So you're a such and such, and you should go have a skincare or a cosmetic or a fragrance. How does that happen? You're building something out and you need some logistics help. How does that happen? You want to go capture your audience and you have all of this wonderful thing, but nobody knows about you. How does that happen?
Yeah.
And I did that for a very long period of time. I'd like to think I was pretty good at it. And along that path, excuse me, because of my ability to be okay at it, I started being able to say, no, that's not interesting to me. That's not for me. Thank you. And then the question becomes, well, what are you interested in? And I started with companies that were green, and green moved into organic, and organic became wellness, at least for me as like the person creating.
Yeah.
And along that path, I had one of those like life moments where the universe taps you on your shoulder. So my wife was very ill with what turned out to be copper toxicity. After our child was born, she had an IUD. And my wife is a wellness professional herself. She's a nurse and now specializes with women for hormones and things of that nature. But at the time was a practicing nurse, a voracious reader, a researcher. And
Okay.
she had all of the side effects of copper toxicity. We went to legitimately 20 doctors. They all said it couldn't be. And one day I was at a client's house and I met somebody that was by definition radiant. They were beaming. And I said, wow, where did you come from? Like, what's going on with you? And she explained that she had just come from this doctor and what a great guy he was. And would you like to meet him? And I said, sure, why not? If long story long, I ended up meeting the fellow, and I've never seen that person again since. The doctor and I became like the best of friends. He's actually my business partner today, and said to me, oh, your wife has copper toxicity. I said, yeah, I know, but nobody's going to listen. They keep telling us that it can't be because she has a porcelain IUD. And he said, yes. What they don't tell you about that is like there's the smallest micron of copper in that, because that actually affects the frequency of the ovum. And they just don't tell you this because it's such a small diode that they don't have to commercially say it. My wife is the type of person that gets every possible side effect you could imagine. If chewing bubble gum made you purple just by opening the wrapper, she's already violet. Okay? So he helped her with the protocol. First, get it out of you, fine. And then he helped her with the protocol to detox, rebuild her cellular strength, and legitimately changed her life. And I said to him, how can I help you? And it led me into the wellness world of helping practitioners, modality specialists, thought leaders build and gain their voice. I left the agency world in 2018. I just had enough of that space, and I started consulting, which is what I still do today. And in that, I particularly went into wellness technology. things that are really complicated. You know, it's an elephant, but you need to get the first bite out of it. It's a very complicated idea, but it needs to be a meme, right? And how does that happen? So I work with neurofeedback companies and hyperbaric companies and infrared companies and super supplements and all of those things. And along that path, I was working with a client that's in the PEMF space. They use waveform and frequency as a modality. They happen to be medical grade, so they were working in autoimmune, things like Crohn's and Lyme's disease and things of that nature, and using frequency to really help people that were chronically ill with it. And I had said to the team that was like the tech team, hey, this is amazing. You're delivering something. Can it be an analytic? To which they said, yes, there's 30, 40 years of research. We're just not doing it. And for whatever reason, the entrepreneurial switch in my head went off and it said, cool, so we can do this. Mm-hmm. They said, if you can figure it out. I said, I'm sure I can figure it out. It's what I do. I figure things out. It's a chocolate and peanut butter moment, as I like to say, you know, two things slammed together and here you go. And that was the impetus of Tonewell. A little bit of a caveat. When I first was in the music business, I was I was like an engineer and a producer. And on the mix desks was something called an oscilloscope, which is around a diode with a plus minus and an infinity symbol going through it. And when the infinity symbol was all like staticky and shaky, you would say something is out of phase. And you would start at the bottom of a frequency stack and make your way all the way to the top. So you would start at the bass and the kick drum, all the way to the singer and guitar. And you would find the thing that was fighting against itself. And when you solved that, you knew that everything was in coherence and would sound good. So fast forward X amount of years, I understood signal and frequency and pathway. So I could have a conversation with a bunch of scientists about what an opportunity set was. And then it was about a year of real research. Like, you know, does this equation hold water? Can you prove A equals 1? And if it's always 1, you know, does it fit into an equation? And that's really what brought me here, was just just paying attention to the universe of saying, hey, Alex, you know what? Being a consultant is a very difficult space. It's like always hunt, kill, deliver, hunt, kill, deliver. And it's really hard to deliver for a client when you're trying to find the next one. And if you're finding the next one, you know, it's just like this endless chase. Like being a hunter is what you do every day. It's why we became farmers. You know, like equally as hard if you have a bad crop year, but I can have a little more control if I own the land and I can till my own soil, right? The outcome becomes a little more predictive. Again, weather patterns aside. So for me, I'm in my 50s. I just want to build something that matters. I'd like to actually have some sort of left behind legacy, not to like put my name on a building, but like, oh, he did that kind of thing. And this was just that opportunity because I understood it. And I believe in well-being. So wellness is a sales category. Well-being is what you kind of hope and wish for people. Like, I hope Mary has a sense of well-being, that she's fulfilled and loved and engaged and happy, and right. And that to me was an opportunity, like to bring to the world, as I said earlier, a tool that can help them build a better relationship with themselves. And when I look at the landscape that's pretty hot, flat, and crowded, I just didn't see this. And that was just that moment of being like, hey, I can do that. And that's, you know, that's my story of how I got here. Just keep swimming. That's all.
Yeah. Oh, that's fascinating. I was in a music major for 1 year in college. And then I raised kids in Nashville, you know, music capital. So that there was a couple of years that I wrote, you know, did a little songwriting. So that the world of music is a fascinating world in and of itself, for sure.
It's a fascinating world, you know. At the end of the day, and I collect, you know, portrait art and painting of people that nobody know because I just happen to like it, and that's art. And then there is commerce, right? Then there is, oh, you have X painting of Y artist, and the two can exist together. You know, you don't need to know the artist on my wall because I happen to just like it.
Yeah.
Verse, yes, it's an asset class also.
Like here also.
Right. You know what I mean? It's also an
Yeah.
asset class. Oh my God, you have a Degas? Well, I wish I did. Just to stare at it, but yes, also for the $75 million value.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
it's kind of music to me. It's like music is the most intrinsic thing to us. Play something, it's actually a frequency in the sense of like that resonated with me. So if you're listening to music and the hair stands up on your arm, that's not an accident. That's literal resonant frequency. The sound, the wavelength is moving your cells in a way that your body is reacting to, and that's the output of it. Right? What a fascinating thing to be involved in. And then there is, well, what number are you on the charts? Right? So
yeah. I think the whole concept of waveform is something that's also I think people are not really aware of how the waveforms do affect our body. And I remember studying this back to college was so confusing to me in college. I took a class on the science of waveform music. It was like a music theory, but it was science of waveform, and I'm like, I am so confused. It, like, for whatever reason, it was so outside what we're just typically taught in school that it was the class that really I struggled with the most, which is fascinating to me because it is something that I'm probably the most interested in.
What's interesting to your point there is that it's used around you every day. So I'm in my 50s. I'm a Generation X person. I was raised on the cathode ray tube. It's just an obnoxious way of saying television. Okay. But my television set was one of those that weighs 200 pounds to lift it up television set. And that television set had a frequency of about 60 hertz, which is a C2 on a keyboard. The phones that we are listening and watching and consuming content on today are a C8 on a keyboard. That is 6 octaves higher. That is about 160 hertz. So it's more urgent. So go to the end of the keyboard and hit the ding, 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 ding. It will kind of make you a little bit loopy if you keep hitting it.
Oh, sure.
But that is modern technology. So the modern technology is driving the society. We all accept that. But it's based on the way that the picture is put together. And that's a wavelength conversation because it needs to be delivered in a different way than I had cable and the cable was plugged into the wall and the wall was copper and that went out. It's not now. It's now here and has to be delivered in what we call real time, right? So the frequency, legitimately, the wavelength, it's not just this, but it's the shape of it and what's being carried on it. That's happening to you, around you, and through you at all times. So I'm on a laptop right now having a conversation with, it's plugged into nothing, which means the bandwidth and the frequency is always here. It's the antenna, the receptor, laptop, that's pulling it out of the air and doing it so fast that we can have this conversation in real time. And that is the same notion of, in the book of John, in the beginning there was the Word, and the Word was God. Well, that means that creation was spoken. The good Lord didn't come off the mountain and use his hands to create water. He said water. But the way that it was spoken created the elements that became. Now, that's obviously a little bit out there for people, but it's the same concept of you saying, I just sent you an email. Did you get it? Yeah, I literally just got it. Cool, right? But you're on the other side of the country, let alone the other side of the world. How is that happening? Because the waveform, the frequency that allows it to happen is what is the material world that we live in. So just a bit of an understanding how and why music works, right? Like, I play a saxophone, it makes me feel a certain way, not me personally, but there are then sax players or trumpet players that actually, because they've played it for so long, they've legitimately resonated their brain, right? And they get a little bit, ooh, because it's been happening for 20 years. What's the outcome of it? So there are these things that we kind of take for granted. If you've ever said to somebody, I don't have the bandwidth for that. Hey man, that didn't resonate with me. I don't vibe with that at all. Better watch your tone when you talk to me. All frequency. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. It is very interesting how, and we use for example, we use technology all the time and people use it all the time, but they don't, if you say something about how like, well, obviously there's waveforms for this and that are going through our bodies and hitting our cells and maybe that's not good for us, they think you're crazy. But we use it all the time and like that instant, how does it happen where I can talk to and even do podcast recordings with people. I did one with someone in Japan and someone in England and,
right.
a couple of people in England. So across the world, and it is what you're saying.
Back in the day,
it's kind of fascinating.
Back in the day, there was a switchboard and they had to plug this in to plug that in to get the signal over there. And please hold.
Yeah.
That went away. How? Well, it went away because we were able to amplify the signal so that it carried further. And you didn't have to have the switching station, which is what a switchboard was, to plug this into that, which then eliminates, that friction point. But it's because the waveform and the frequency now can carry, because it's always there. How does radio work in your car? So I'm not listening to the radio right now, but I'm assuming that it's playing, that radio station is playing music right now. I'm going to assume, I'm not that narcissistic to believe that it's not, because I'm not listening. So when I turn it on and it's there instantly, how? Because it's always playing. And if I could listen to radio in my head. I'm glad that I don't. But if I could just tune in to the frequency, bandwidth, radio dial, the frequency 92.3 that radio station's on, then I could hear the broadcast at all time.
Yeah.
And we accept this in things like the car going 100 miles per hour, but the song doesn't blur until it's out of the range of the amplifier and the receiver, which is the car, your antenna. So we've lived in these things our whole lives. We're voyeurs in our own lives sometimes. So most people don't actually use technology. They participate with technology. And that's different. That's just following the thread that's been laid out for you. When you use technology, you begin to question how it works, how it functions, what can I do to make it better, right? And that's the age we live in. And some people are builders because they pull things apart and they want to know how, and other people are just users. They participate in, and it's good enough, not going to question it, just going to do it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people fall into that range for sure. This is a kind of just a fascinating concept, and it does just seem like it should be something that should be widely accepted, that this is just an energetic waveform driven world.
Yes.
And the science is there. That's where the healing is going to be.
Yes. If a lot of people use coaches, and coaches are about mindset. And for you to have your mind set, so you have the proper mindset, they say, imagine yourself, picture yourself, see that happening. And when you do, your subconscious believes that is for you. It's why I really like the expression, if you can see it, you can be it. And I despise the expression, fake it till you make it. Because that presupposes that when you made it, you're a fraud because you were faking it. As opposed to, if you can see it, you can be it. It means that your mind begins to picture that and begins to move you toward that result that you're looking for. So these are things we accept. You accept that a coach can help you work on your mindset and create the image in your mind that you are. Well, what is that image? The image is frequency coming together for you to imagine that is the case. So again, it's what we're doing with Tonewell. The science is proven and been around for a while. What has caught up actually is the phone. The speaker in your phone is as good. There's only two microphone companies, excuse me. The microphone in your phone, there are only two microphone companies. They're as good as the microphones that were in Abbey Road when the Beatles produced their records. The
Interesting.
processor that we've heard the entirety of our lives, the computers used to be the size of a whole floor of a building, and now what's in your pocket could run the space shuttle. Okay, so what are you using it for? And that is the thing that has allowed our company to come in vogue. The technology of science and frequency, Wilhelm Reich, the Orgone accumulator, or Tesla very famously trying to give free electricity to the world, or hardcore science, Texas Instruments and their CAT scans, or we accept these things. When you get a brain scan done or a QEEG and you see the heat map of your brain, you accept it because science has told you that is true. So that means that if it's true in that arena, it's probably true in the next arena. And that's where technology and wellness and where we are today is amazing. So wearables are a good example for me. I've been an athlete most of my life. I know how to take my HRV. I know how to write down my calories. I know how to write down my exercise. There have been equations forever. Go check out any bodybuilder, and your body mass index equals calorie output. We've had this. But now we simply are going to take the ring and believe that that's some sort of magic. It's not. It's actually just doing the same job of the person that's running down the street when they get to the stoplight doing this, remembering in their head what the number was and writing it down when they get home. And then you do that over the course of the month because you run the same time every day, the same pause. You always stop at that traffic light. You write down your HRV, and at the end of the month, week, day, whatever, you do the average, right? So that's what we're accepting here as infrastructure wearables. So frequency as a modality, as an analytic, we're already accepting it in the world. It's just a matter of now adopting that you can do it for yourself. And that's back to what I was saying earlier, kind of flippantly, about the Industrial Revolution, is that we were told actually not to critically think. You were told to, this is task, function, job. So stop that for a moment, build the relationship with yourself, recognize there's plenty of science. You can go to our website and read science pages all day. You can go to PubMed and read science pages all day. Go to Hopkins or Harvard or you can read them. They're all published because that's the idea of publishing. And then you can say, hey, I can engage in this. And that's, again, why I think that the era that we're living in is so magical, because it actually empowers the individual. I'm not a doom and gloom person. I don't think AI is going to unemploy the world. It might actually make you break the shackles and go do something for yourself because you do need to earn a living. It just doesn't mean you need to be employed. So
I part of the just to say more about that, I've had several podcasts where it's like I think that AI is interesting. I don't love what it's doing. It can't be ruining our environment. So I just say that first, can't be doing that. But to use it in a way that you can improve what you're doing to make it go faster, and also it's going to make us, in my opinion, want human connection more. So that's already something that's I actually
think that it drives smaller communities, which is really kind of marvelous.
Yeah.
On many levels, it makes you talk to your neighbor.
Yeah. Because we're going to want to make sure we know because it can be used just like the internet. It's going to be used for good or bad. But I also really want to enable people. So it's something that's a goal of mine, to understand health and nutrition and to understand how to make your own business. Because it really could be something that you need to do.
Yeah.
For various reasons.
For sure.
Yeah. With that said, because since I was working in marketing also for a while. And so part of what you've done is take a complex idea someone has and break it down so that it's understandable, which means people are going to buy it because they understand why they need it. So, that when I was working with business owners, that felt to me like they just didn't think that was possible. They just have 20 offerings. It could be like a yoga studio. How do I even tell people it's too many things? Or it's just a complex topic. They thought there was one that was just fire safety, and they thought that was too complex to, for example, put into a 15 or 30-second commercial to explain to people or however it was done. But what do you start with? What do you when you talk to people, how do you help them break it down? I know
You
that's a
know,
hard thing and as a generalization,
no,
but
so for me, first and foremost, is kind of getting away from the slotted words that we are forced into, like TAM, the total addressable market. Like, that's everybody. If you do something well enough, it's everybody. Michael Jackson, who isn't his audience? Okay, so first you actually have to start with who is the person that you're talking to. Who is legitimately the first person? So for me, if we're talking product, the most expensive thing in product is education. Trying to explain why. The best thing that you could ask for in product is word of mouth, right? Oh my God, I'm using this amazing thing. You have to try it out. So that's actually what you need to solve for first to me. Whose problem are you solving and what's the simple solution? I am a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. I love it. I do it every day. We have a gentleman at our gym that runs a gym, and it's a small pocket gym. And believe me, there's every franchise in the world around us. And when I speak to him about his business, I say, man, he's really successful. How are you doing this? He says, oh, I actually specialize in women after having children. When they want to get back in shape and get back in touch with their bodies. That is his market. He's not talking about men 45 and above trying to get rid of the beer gut. He's not trying to crack into the physical therapist space. He's not trying to get the 20-something-year-old building muscle. And this guy has done 25 triathlons. Like, he's a super, super fit guy. He just recognized that where he is, I'm outside of Philadelphia, so where he is, what the suburb is, what his addressable market, not total market, what his addressable market was this. And that has spread through his business. So I'm in the wellness space, right? Tonewell's in the wellness space, hot, flat, and crowded. Everybody's on the field. And I think that's the opportunity, because if everybody's on the field, that means there's a ton of people in the stands. Right? So like all things, if you're an artist and you're standing on stage at a coliseum, you actually find the one person in the audience to sing to, so to speak. And that actually is how product works.
Okay.
Do not try to be everything to everyone. It will never, ever work. Believe me, they already have their favorites. Be the answer to the problem that the person is trying to find the solution for. Do the best job that you can and follow up. Some of that actually is in basic packaging, like what pulls it off the shelf. Oh, wow, that's really cool. Most of it is in efficacious of the product. Like, did that work? Did it do its thing? So the first thing that I talk to people about actually is what is their DNA. Not who do you want to be when you grow up. That's a different conversation. That's when we're moving. It's let's form your DNA, because your DNA makes you you. I've done a lot of things. Like, I've pivoted a lot, but I've always been Alex. And I'm fortunate enough to have a relationship with myself early enough in life to know who I am and what I want to be. And that has rung true straight through. You go find somebody that knew me when I was 19, 35, or now that I'm 53, and they'll tell you the genuinely same story about me of, like, he is a rambunctious, problem-solving, thoughtful, cool guy, but he's also a curmudgeon and a little bit difficult and opinionated. They would have said that at 15. They'll say that when I'm 75, right? Hilarious. And I just say that to be like, that's important. Like, what your thing is, your service, your talent, your product. It doesn't have to be the greatest, biggest, most unique, oh my God, nobody's ever thought about this. It actually just needs to be the most defined, right? And that's, so Tonewell's a good example. We're just getting out of our education stage because we have finally begun to figure out what our communication, 2 sentences, what the picture could look like. That took a long period of, but what we've done well for 18 months is 30-second sound clip, proprietary algorithm, deliver your wellness report in under 5 minutes. That was 3 sentences, right?
Yeah.
So That's the important part. And that, I think, is all businesses. Like, I don't have the fear of, if you make a great burrito, does Chipotle matter? No, it doesn't, because you make a great burrito. Make that great burrito. The person's going to say, oh my God, dude, I had the greatest burrito on Saturday. And I'm going to tell you about the place. But if you make everything on the Mexican food spectrum, you're never going to be that hit, right? That's why, unfortunately, diners got wiped out by COVID, because we all started learning how to make pancakes again, right?
Yeah.
Like the simple things that we all could have done, because that convenience was taken out. And you're not like, you know what, I want diner. Well, I happen to say that because of my upbringing on the East Coast. But you now say, I want X. I'm making sourdough again. I'm gardening again. I'm doing all of the general things that take the generalist out of the market, right? And that's really important. To me, it's finding your DNA. It's the first thing I work on. You could be a lawyer, you could be making chalk. Doesn't matter. Let's figure out what your, they would say, what's your point of difference to the market? But for me, it's different. It's what's the DNA? What's the thing that actually makes you you?
That's really good advice. I feel like that also just layers on what some other people have said with like find your niche.
Yeah.
Find like something that's just make it smaller. It's not like the rest of the world won't come if they want to, but just start with the kind of a very narrow people that you're looking to bring in first.
In our offering, when we built our rails for what we can say or not say, we made them exceedingly tight, because I can always loosen them up. If they were very loose going into the market, you will never be able to make them more constricted, tighter, because now you're just out there, right? You go the other way. It's like, try walking down the streets of Manhattan with your arms stretched out. You will go nowhere. You put your arms at your side so you can make your way through the crowd. And that metaphorically is actually how you gain audience, market. You can't just go out and book a stadium. You start in a tiny club until that somebody says, hey, why aren't you in theaters? And then why aren't you in da-da-da? Why? And that, there's a, back to music. So I used to, like, I said to people, like, there's a long list of no's, one box of yes, because intrinsically we're in the music business. So now it's my job to say no, right?
Right.
But the difference between what else do you have and what else do you have? Same sentence. It's
Right.
how well you were prepared, how good your offering was, how precise were you talking to the right person. You're talking to the wrong A&R guy or whatever. I don't like, Swedish folk music. Why are you playing this for me? I'm a hip hop guy, right? So know who you're talking to and why you want to talk to them, and then be your version of you, not their version, because they already have that. That's the box of no. Already have that. Already have that. Already have that. Right? So that's what it is for me. It's DNA.
Yeah. Well, that's really helpful, I think. So for Tonewell, what is the DNA?
So Tonewell, for us, the DNA is helping people build better relationships with themselves. That's really what it is. And how that fits into us is what makes us unique. Voice as an algorithm, voice as what our test is. We are not a diagnostic. We're an analytic. A diagnostic tells you what's wrong. An analytic tells you what's going on. If I can analyze something, I can come up with an answer. I can now change the equation. Once it's been diagnosed as something, that's what it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's our point of difference and our DNA. Our job is to help you build your relationship with yourself, not for us to tell you who you are, which is wildly different, I think, than most things in the wellness space. And for us, allows us to be a Swiss Army knife. You could just talk to us about hydration. You could just talk to us about energy. You could just talk about stress. We have an intelligence layer built in. So if you participate with us and then came back to us and said, wow, I got this report. Could you explain XYZ? Absolutely. Or if you could say, as I said to mine the other day, my energy is really low and it's pointing out that my thyroid is down. Does that mean I should take iodine, which I have, or something else? And it said ashwagandha, because that's actually what your body is calling for. Amazing. What's the next set of questions? So if I wanted to ask about nutrition, which you can eat yourself into wellness, right? You can get more iron, you can get more vitamin C, you can get manganese, you can get boron. All of these things are available in nature, right? And having that understanding of how and what and where, that's to us is what our DNA is built around. The relationship that you can have with yourself, and for us to be that facilitator.
Yeah, that's really good. So being more in touch with yourself and having a better understanding of what's going on is just as easy as taking your voice analysis. And that can be step one, versus I know when people are like, I don't know what's wrong with me, and they book 20 doctor's appointments and they still are not sure. And that can happen. But to have some kind of a baseline of, hey, let's maybe look at this, like maybe this is the issue. Maybe it's hydration. Oh, that makes sense. I don't drink enough water. So, or whatever it might be.
Well, that's the thing, is that hydration is a many-step process, right? If that's what we're talking about. So for me, I have no problem with Western medicine. I'm really not a charlatan at all that way. Like I'm for it. But recognize this. I don't feel well. Made doctor's appointment. How many days passed? Doc, this is what's going on. We need to get a better insight to you. Let me send you for a blood panel. Sure. How many days pass? I go get blood panel. They send to lab sends to doctors. How many days have passed? Doctor calls me and says, this is what we see is wrong. This is the protocol. All things being true, you now know what's wrong. How many days have passed? And inside of that passage of time, what could you have been doing to feel better? Not offset the thing that is wrong. Blood is an amazing chemistry test. It tells you exactly the chemistry of what's going on. It's fantastic. There is a latency that doesn't allow you to take actions in your life, right? And be more empowered. So even companies like Function Health, who's the big guy on the block right now, they're doing the exact same thing. They're doing this old style Newtonian blood test. Let me send it to your house. That's the difference, sending it to your house. Okay. Still send it back to them. They're going to run 100 tests, whatever that might mean, and then tell you you have the precursor for X or the precursor for Y. Let's say that's all true. How does that affect you today? How could you wake up today and make a better choice for your life, make a better option set, have a better action, have better answers, have more clarity, have more? You can't. And that's where we fit in. We fit in with those things. If you are a wearable person, that's measuring the output. So let's help you with the input so you can change the output, right? And that's where the times that we're living in, what's called the personal operating system. Go to your doctors, get your blood, have your urine looked at, get the hair swab, which is the best of them all. Get the hair test because your DNA is in each of your plugs, right? Get the swabs. All of those are amazing. They're great. But that's not your snapshot of now. Your snapshot of now is your voice, because it's carrying the wavelength of legitimately what's happening in the moment. Yes, it could also change over the course of the day, like eating too many bananas before a blood test or those type things. But we had a client, she's in her 60s, out of menopause, still having hormonal issues. Her issues, however, were happening late at night, 3:30 in the morning. She would go to a doctor in the morning, afternoon. Everything was fine. It was working fine. But she was having these events at night. How do I reconcile that? Funny enough, you have a phone at 3:30 in the morning. So at 3:30 in the morning, when her house was on fire, so to speak, she got a snapshot using Tonewell, and that snapshot was of the event. right? It's a seismograph. Imagine you can't track the earthquake after. Those are aftershocks. You have to track it when it happens. That's an opportunity as much as, I feel a little bit off. I've been on a bunch of airplanes recently. Do I have a cold? Right?
Yeah.
And that's where we are. That's where we sit in that personal opportunity, like my relationship with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And I do think there is still there is a little bit still of this thing in society where we're fighting with, we do whatever we want. We go to bed super late. We don't get enough sleep. We don't get morning sunlight. We eat kind of crap food. We're not eating fruits and vegetables. We're not drinking filter. We're just, it's crap input. And then we're like, we'll go to the doctor so the doctor can fix it. So the doctor's supposed to fix it, and we're going to keep doing all the crap things in our schedule and in our food and our water and everything, and we're not going to make any changes. It's the doctor's department to do that. And so that shift to actually, come on, seriously, come on, seriously, right?
Yeah.
You got to make changes. This is actually you. This is actually your body, your life. So there's that thing where it kind of, it lives together. Make the changes. Are you going to do it or not?
Most people ask me at some point, well, who's your competitor? And my stock answer is, my only competition are people that don't want to know about themselves. It's not the wearable. It's not the supplement company. It's not the other wellness dashboard. It's the person that wants to be ignorant to their own. It's not stupid. Stupid you can fix, actually. I can give you information. You're no longer stupid. Ignorant is ignoring the things that aren't so. Right? So I know I don't feel well. I'm just going to keep pushing through. I'm going to be ignorant to my body telling me all of the signs. I'm going to be ignorant to that's who my competition is. It's the person that just wants to just get it off the mountaintop and be told that's what it is. And it could be. It very well could be. But had you taken a different position for yourself, it didn't have to get to that. Right? So.
Yeah. And I think I'm Gen X too. So I think especially in our generation, you just go push through it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Ignore your emotions, ignore your pain in your body, and go, go, go. And that was the measure of success. And that's so destructive.
That combined with, nobody's coming to save you. So if nobody's coming to save me, then I have to do it myself, don't I? Totally self-reliant. You can drop me anywhere. I'm good. But I'm also bringing my body wherever you go. That's where you are, that expression. So maybe check in with yourself, maybe optimize yourself, maybe, have an understanding of what not to eat any longer, or those days are past. That was a lot of fun. I can't do that any longer.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, this is so much great information. And I appreciate your time so much, Alex. In closing, anything else you'd like to share with the audience?
Not particularly. We are an easy company to find at Tonewell.co. I'm an easy person to find, Alex Fredericks, or Alex at Tonewell.co. I really, truly hope that through all of these types of podcasts and communications and the folks that you connect with, that the light bulb goes off for folks. We are at an incredible time and age that if you genuinely wanted to scratch past the surface, there is something underneath. And that underneath is who we are. And that's really important to me. It's why I've said it 1,000 times. I'll say it 1,000 times more. Our job is to help people build better relationships with themselves, because I think we'd have a much better world if we were far more connected with ourselves. Therefore, we would have a better output into the world, and the world could change. So I just wish everybody the best. I hope that they participate with us. And if not, I hope that they do the best for themselves.
Yeah, perfect. Tonewell.co. All right.
Yep.
Thank you, Alex. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Did you like that? You can watch more episodes here. Subscribe over here. We actually have new episodes with awesome guests every Thursday. So check back in. Is that all?